Have you remembered something? Wait, the letter is missing after S. What? A letter. On the... Oh. Oh. Interesting. Although, since I didn't notice, I mean, it'll come up eventually, but we do have exclamation point hide for things like that. Its position. It's different from before. Its position? The position of what? The position of that big metal thing. The bomb transport case? Yes, when Apollo and I went there, it was in a different place. That's okay. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know how that's gonna come up, but we'll see. Where the case is in the photo was open space, so it was easy to search the stand. I see. So where was the transport case when you and Mr. Justice saw it? As I recall, I think it was more to the right. To the right? Then that means... In that case, the case was over there at the time of Apollo's attack. Who cares where the transport case was when? What difference does it make? It has nothing at all to do with what we were talking about.
Objection!
Where the transport case was has everything to do with this discussion. In fact, it's so important that it's enough to turn the prosecution's argument on its ear. What? Well, that certainly sounds very relevant indeed. You sound as though you know where the case was at the time of the attack. Yes, Your Honor. This diagram represents the crime scene as shown in the photo. And this is where the transport case was at the time of the assault on Mr. Justice. Alright, I have this. The bomb transport case was here at the time of Apollo's attack. I guess right there.
Take that!
Probably. Slammed. Welcome to the jam. Your Honor, I assert that this is where the transport case was at the time of the assault. But that's... inconceivable. What he actually wrote on the floor, Woods is not the person who did it. He had a lot of time. He was unconscious. That would explain how he was able to write so much. Ms. Woods, was this where the transport case was when you saw it? Yes. That's where it was. Then why did I have to pick the location? Thank you, Ms. Woods. I'm sure the court has noted an interesting fact about this position. The transport case covers up the writing in blood. Exactly. If the transport case was in that position at the time of the assault, then no message could have been written there because the case was in the way. Which leads us to conclude that Mr. Justice couldn't have left that bloody writing. Why should we believe the defendant's claim that the case was in a different position? She's obviously lying.
Objection!
The fact that the case was moved after the assault on Mr. Justice is proved by more than Ms. Wood's testimony alone. What? No, it isn't. Where's this proof you're talking about? It's right here in the crime photo. I'm keen to see this proof myself, Mr. Wright. What in the photo indicates that the transport case was in See, by now I would have noticed it. Proves that the oh I see. You can actually see the marks. You can see the wheel marks. I don't know where I'm supposed to probably anywhere along here is fine.
Take that!
I hope. Oh, come on. Come on. I'm sensing feelings of doubt from you, which means you're just taking a wild stab in the dark. No, I'm not. You fool! It's the skid marks. Come on. Oh! Oh my god. Come on. Okay. Not here. Not right here where I just clicked. But here. Because there it's on the page. Please take a look at the mark that runs over Mr. Justice's bandages here. I see it, but what is it? This mark was made by one of the casters from the transport case carrying the bomb. Gamers... Who do you think you are, Propagable? As the case was moved, it ran over his bandages. In other words, the transport case was originally to the right of Mr. Justice. Then, after Mr. Justice was assaulted, the transport case was moved. What? Just as Ms. Woods said, the case was covering the writing at the time of the assault. Therefore, it was impossible for Mr. Justice to have left that message in blood. And the person who did leave it was stupid. You did it, boss. It was a real nail-biter, but you pulled it off. The energy bar? That's if you haven't played a Phoenix Wright game, they give you an energy bar, and when you get things wrong, the energy goes down, and when it empties, no matter how clear it is that your defendant is not guilty, they go, I see absolutely no reason why this trial should continue. Guilty. Get out. Go to jail. Go to die. That should bring down the prosecution's claim like a house of cards. Order! Order in the court! Mr. Wright, that was a very clever deduction. Ah, it was nothing, Your Honor. Nothing but pure genius. Take that! Take that, Propagable. Boss, I'm sensing a definite smug and braggy vibe coming off of you. Oh, yes. Yes, you can lose in Phoenix Wright. Ugh. I have just one question, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? If Mr. Justice didn't leave this message in blood, then who did? Huh? What? Oh. Well. Reload when has that ever happened? Show me the evidence. Looks like I should have taken that last train of thought through to the last station. Well, well, I've heard a lot about this. So this is Mr. Wright's famous bluffing technique, is it? Ah, this feeling. It brings back memories of the old days. Back when you carved out a name for yourself by bluffing your way through thick and thin. Jeez, Mr. Wright, the judge kind of makes you sound no better than a 2-bit con man. You made your argument with such confidence, Mr. Wright. Now I'd like to hear your answer with just as much confidence. Hey, until the judge asked the question, you didn't catch on either, Buster. What now, boss? I hope you didn't bluff your way into a corner. Think, Phoenix, think. The slow pull in. It's nice that they can be a little cinematic like this, where you really couldn't in like the original DS versions, or the original DS games, where it was just sprites. Think, Phoenix, think. There must be a way through this. I have to dig my way to the truth somehow. Who could have written that message in blood? Apollo. Apollo did it. Wait. Okay, this is genuinely unclear. When they say the culprit, like what's the difference between the culprit and someone else? Why wouldn't they just put her name here? Because if I say the culprit, they're gonna be like, the culprit? You mean your defendant? Apollo didn't leave that bloody writing. Maybe it was Apollo. Yes. Yes. Maybe it was Apollo's attacker who wrote it and made Apollo. Okay, it seems like the most reasonable explanation is me is correct. I know, but I'm afraid that they're gonna like trick me into something, that if I say the culprit, they're gonna be like, oh, by the culprit we meant the defendant, right? That there was just a little localization issue. Wait a minute, I just realized something, boss. What is it? Look at the amount of the blood in the photo. It doesn't look like Apollo bled very much. I wonder if it's even possible to write out Woods with just this much. Why does that mean that the what? How does that have anything to do with whether the culprit did it or not? Good thing Apollo didn't lose that much blood. That might be a factor in why he survived the assault. And since there was so little blood that... This is some moon logic. Why... We're like the culprit. And they're like, he didn't actually bleed enough to write the word Woods with his blood. Therefore, it wasn't the culprit. Oh, now they're gonna ask me. Alright, well. I have no evidence of this whatsoever. It was her. Like, I know it was you, but why?
Take that!
Boss. Of course you do. Don't tell me you don't have anything at all to back up your assertion. I have the fact that I know that I'm right. Fool, RoboCop does not bleed. That won't do, Mr. Wright, but a penalty will make it. Irk! So it wasn't Apollo or his attacker. You knew I was gonna get both wrong? Why didn't you say something? No, wait. Hold on. Wait. So she says, so it wasn't Apollo or his attacker. When you think about who was at the crime scene. Okay. I think I get it now. I think there's... Okay. Alright. That was a little... I think what they're saying is that she died... She was injured, left that message, died. They somehow cleaned up her... Like, removed her corpse without noticing that message. I guess because the thing was over it. No. Apollo couldn't have... If the thing was moved... God. I guess it's her.
Take that!
To be honest, I don't actually have any real proof of this, which I got penalized for last time.
I can't do it if you're watching.
This isn't fair.
If you just turn around. All right. Can't do it if you're leering at me. It's creepy.
Thank you, Blind Umpire, for the host. You're here just in time to see me not make any more mistakes. Candace... Serp, that's good. Thank you. Thank you for figuring that out. Can disarm. That's great. Can disarm. We were just going with the fact that her last name was Arm, but they full punned it. Good job. We've come this far. There's no turning back now. Besides Apollo, there was one more person who shed blood at the crime scene. A person who shed blood? You don't mean... Oh, but I do. I believe it was Candace Arm who left behind this message in blood. What? What? Detective Arm? Are you sure you know what you're doing here? Not really.
Objection!
What kind of ridiculous assertion is that? If you had said the attacker left the message to throw people off, it might have made sense. At first glance, that would seem to be the most reasonable explanation. However, Apollo didn't shed enough blood to write such an extensive message. Uh-oh. Ah, I see. Even the photo makes it clear there wasn't enough red. Don't go and retroactively say that the photo makes things clear. No, it didn't. And Mr. Justice did survive. I suppose he didn't bleed very extensively in that case. But why would Detective Arm write the defendant's name? There is no connection between the two whatsoever. And I didn't even know the lady who was killed. The news out of Japan. I have not checked the news. It's something bad, I suppose. I did not look at the news before I started the stream. Oh! I did see something about that. I hadn't read the article because it didn't sound like... Yeah, 33 dead. That is awful. Ooh. Yikes. Well, that is terrible. I'll have to check some more on that after stream. And now here we are, unfortunately, like bad timing, playing a game that's about somebody planting bombs and blowing up a building. Oh well. It's kind of bad timing. They had never even met each other. That's very true. Well, then, let's see. Then maybe the intended meaning of the message is not what it appears to be. The intended meaning? Not what it appears to be. Maybe the message was not intended to be Woods. How were you guessing that? Did ever X tip you off? Coming from you, that's quite the bold statement, Mr. Wright. You wish to assert that this bloody writing could have some other meaning? Yes, Your Honor. For something I pulled out of a wormhole? Could turn out to be true, right? It clearly says Woods, as anyone can plainly see. But what other meaning could it possibly have?
Objection!
It could mean swooned. But Candace Arm was a detective. Maybe Woods only means something to the police. Like a police scanner code, for example. I didn't think of that. You may have tricked His Honor, but you'll never get the best of me. I have a thing for studying on the weekends, as you may have already guessed. I had not guessed that. And there is no such radio code as Woods in this state, my dear Mr. Wright. Is that a fact? I bet it does say something upside down. It's gonna say something S Doom. It's gonna say, and then the missing thing is like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Don't look at me. I know as much as you do about police codes. Enough of this. I was quite taken with the defense's new theory. But if they can't substantiate it with anything, then I must end things here. No. Please wait, Your Honor. Very well. But before we discuss this theory any further, I demand a plausible explanation. So, Mr. Wright, what is the true meaning of the bloody writing? Well, I believe it's... And no stalling. If you can't come up with an answer quickly, I will declare this... Uh-oh. Is this timed? Is this the fabled first timed Phoenix Wright piece? I'm in trouble now. What other meaning could it have besides the obvious one? And what do we don't know anything other than after the word would is where... Oh, zoom out. Yeah, upside down it wouldn't be anything, really. Maybe they're not going to make us guess what it is. They just need us to point it out. Maybe it means something in another language, or maybe it's a code. Ask Athena. She knows every language in the world. Think, Phoenix. You can do this. Moods. Oops. Oh, I can't select the other one. They just both go together. Or wait, do we have anything? We don't see any blood on her face. They don't show the other hand. She didn't write HH3000. She wasn't writing the bomb transport case serial number, right? No. Yeah, I guess we're just gonna
Take that!
What exactly is your point, Mr. Wright? Thought this evidence was supposed to tell... Oh, come on! But doesn't it, Your Honor? Are you asking me or telling me? I guess I'll let you be the judge of that. Yes, I'll do the judging around here, and I judge that you deserve a penalty. Why? I looked at everything else. I just know there's something here that looks like the word woods. That looks like the word woods? There are 2 zeros. That's like having oh. If you took half of it, the bottom half, top half. Bottom half. I'm gonna say this. There's nothing. We don't have any other evidence. There's nothing. I'm gonna say this.
Take that!
The fucking bomb transport case? How? Why? I've about had it up to here with your shenanigans, Mr. Wright. Take a look at the numbers on this case, Your Honor. Not even a little. All right, okay, fine. What could those numbers possibly have to do with the case at hand? Now, please take a look at the bloody writing shown in the crime photo. Did someone fill it like she wrote crooked? Like, that's L10015, and then somebody was like, oh, there's just enough blood to go like... I don't know about that one. Or you could say it's a horse of a different color. Are we bringing horses into this now? The first character isn't a W. It's actually an L and a 1. The next two are zeros. Oh my goodness. Why would they draw just the L crooked and everything else straight? Okay. It's a stretch and a half. I'm. What are you talking about? The next part doesn't make any sense. The next number is a 1, but the bloody writing says D. But the number on the case and the bloody writing can be made to match up quite easily. This is how the number on the transport case can be made to match the bloody writing. The number on the transport case yeah, what are we doing with a D? You erase one line, the curve of the D. Does that count as one line? It's not a straight line. All you have to do is erase one line from the writing. Erase one line from where? Wise, optimistic, don't listen, serene. Boss, what in the world? This is no time for a psychology test. I can't say my state of mind is exactly serene right now, Mr. Wright. Why? Erng. Oh, they were still counting that one? I thought they were asking, how do you make the D look like a 1? Fine. Well, would you look at that? Would you look at that? I wouldn't. I'm turning the game off. No, Your Honor, it isn't meant to be read as a word. It's the number L10015. Which, if you take away the final R, is the exact same numbers that's on the bomb transport case. Erase 2 lines and they match up, you say? Well, I can change anything into anything else simply by erasing 2 lines. What if we erased 2 lines from your name? Would you be happy with Mr. Wright? Well, would you, Mr. Wright? The only right spelling is right. Wait, no it's not! Okay, I'm doing pretty well here, and I think I've drawn the right conclusion. Detective Arm's real message to us is the bomb transport case number, which is a stupid message. I'm just saying. Your Honor, the 2 lines were added by the real culprit to intentionally mislead people. What? The original message Detective Arm left behind was the transport case number, but whoever assaulted Apollo changed the message. If you're right, boss, then what do you suppose Detective Arm was trying to tell us? She was probably brain damaged, and that's why she left such a stupid message. Good question. What does this number represent? Do you see this number here? That is my identification number. Candace Arm lost her life in the courtroom bombing. Her dying message could only have had one purpose. No! To tell us the name of the one responsible for the bombing. You know, a name. Well, don't keep us in suspense, Mr. Wright. Tell us who she was trying to name and doing a bad job of it. The culprit that the victim was trying to identify is none other than nobody knows because she didn't do it in English or Japanese. If she had wrote it in Japanese, we would have got it. The defense wishes to indict. That's not what defendants do. Wishes to indict Mr. Ted Tonate on the charge of a courtroom bombing. Ted Tonate? Apparently disabling bombs. Apparently disabling bombs isn't Mr. Tonate's only specialty. Somehow, the victim must have realized that he was the bomber. Must have realized it after the bomb went off, before she died, and had lost too much oxygen to remember his name. So when she was caught in a blast, she left his bomb transport case number as her dying message. She used Mr. Tonate's own ID number to finger him for the crime. Why would anyone go out of their way to write an ID number? Wouldn't they simply write the person's name? He's got the best point there. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Wright? Nothing. That only Detective Arm would know the answer to, but allow me to offer a theory. Perhaps Detective Arm couldn't recall Mr. Tonate's name in the heat of the moment. As I recall, this was the first meeting between the two? What? It's entirely possible they wouldn't have been familiar with each other. Or maybe using the ID number was a way to hide its true meaning from the culprit who wouldn't know their own ID number? Thus lowering the odds that they would erase the bloody writing. They would put it together faster than anyone else in the world. Anybody. Game. But no matter what the reason, the important thing is the meaning behind her message. We'll use analytic psychology to figure out what she was thinking. The fact remains she wrote Mr. Tonate's ID number. Now, just one moment here. There hasn't been any proof that it was indeed Detective Arm who wrote it. The bloody writing wasn't found during the investigation after the blast. If Detective Arm had left the message, it should have been found at that time. Naturally, Mr. Tonate hid it before anyone could discover it. What was he doing back in the room before anyone else? Alright. Did he have like immunity? It's like the bomb helmet in Crypt of the Necrodancer. He's also immune to bombs, so he hung out in the courtroom while it was exploding? There's a simple explanation for how he was able to do so. Crypt of the Necrodancer. What? Mr. Tonate was able to cover the message up because he's... The first person to discover the bloody writing was Mr. Tonate himself, which doesn't appear in the court record anywhere. Right? 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 How did we know that? Yeah, we don't know that. You're making that up. What is that piece of paper you're holding and tapping? Oh, okay, he did say it. Fine. I was the first one on the scene after the explosion. I went there to ensure safety, but ended up discovering a dead body. Fine. When Mr. Tonate saw that the victim had written his ID number, he used the bomb transport case to cover up the bloody writing as a stopgap measure. Oh, so that's why the message in blood was under the transport case. He didn't have enough time to try and scrub away the writing. If he didn't report the body right away, it would look suspicious. So those letters lived on to serve another function, and Mr. Tonate used them in another incident. Oh, the assault on Mr. Justice. Exactly. Mr. Tonate hit upon a plan to use the bloody writing for his own purposes, so he didn't clean it away. Instead, he made it look like Mr. Justice wrote it, by adding 2 lines to the writing that Detective Arm left behind. He changed the meaning of the message. He made it look like Mr. Justice was accusing Ms. Woods of the attack. So that means the only person who could have altered the bloody writing was the courtroom bomber, who was the same person that assaulted Mr. Justice. Ooh, we got the blue zoomies. And that person is Ted Tonate. Gag! Too bad blood analysis. Too bad blood looks identical to other blood, whether it is 5 minutes old or an entire day old. Order in the court. Order, I say. It looks like we will have to hear from the bomb specialist himself. Mr. Payne, please have Mr. Tonate take the witness stand. Okay, Your Honor. That was great, Mr. Wright. Just doing what I do best, which is flying by the seat of my pants through a game that has moon logic. Dismantling the case is yours. I look forward to seeing you try. I've finally drawn Mr. Tonate back onto the witness stand. It looks like you'll get your wish, Goggle Man. Now watch me take your lies apart. Mr. Tonate, I'm afraid we have a few more questions for you. I understand the situation, Your Honor. I was keeping a close eye on the proceedings from the gallery. The allegations are all laughable.
Objection!
I wouldn't be laughing if I were you, Mr. Tonate. The message in blood matches your ID number. The same ID number that is there on that bomb transport case. Such a far-fetched theory, no better than a tangled ball of wires. I'll have them untangled for you in no time at all. Oh no, wait, that last one wasn't in a robot voice. You were the first person on the scene after Detective Arm left her message in blood. You were the only one who could have hidden the writing, and then used it again later. I see X2. But then, let me ask you, do you have any proof that Detective Arm wrote that message? That's a very good question. Well, do you, Mr. Wright? The best way to prove that Detective Arm wrote that message is to... both, but more DNA. I request that a DNA test be performed on the blood itself. Once we know whose it is, it will be obvious as to who wrote the message. Very well. Bailiff, please put in a request for a DNA test to the forensics team. They should be done in seconds. It'll be some time before we have the results of the analysis. Until then, let's hear more from the witness. I would like nothing more, Your Honor. I want the court to hear how ridiculous the defense's theory is. I should probably save again, as I am now down to 1 hit point. I admit I was the first one on the scene after the explosion, but there was no bloody writing there at the time. Anyway, there is no way Detective Arm could have written it. She struck her head on rubble and died near the courtroom entrance. She was too far away from where the bloody message was found. So you're saying that the victim's body was nowhere near where the writing was? Precisely. It is plain as day that she could not have written it. It's true that the body was discovered near the entrance to the courtroom. Please have a look at this crime scene photo. As you can see, there is blood on the rubble near the victim's body. She must have died after hitting her head there. Wait, was she already... How is she leaning up against the rubble that killed her? Weird. I don't know. Anyway, I did say I was going to save. Let's save. And it is 9 o'clock, almost, but we'll keep going. All right then, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Do you have what it takes to take my infallible testimony apart? No, we don't care about the first one, or the second one, or the third one. Yeah, give me this. Do you imagine she was thrown back by the force of the blast? A bomb can inflict damage not only from the explosion itself, but also substantial secondary damage from the blast wind. Detective Arm unfortunately hit her head on some rubble. It's stated in her autopsy report as well. Cause of death, trauma to back of head. Maybe remove the bomb from the guy. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Maybe don't let him come into the court with that. Ah, the autopsy report. I better take another look at that. Now do you see, Detective Arm could not have written that message. Between 8 and 11 a.m. It's curious that the autopsy report is not specific, because could she have been killed before? Like, before the trial even started? No. Did people see her during the court case? Was her body inside of the elephant? The reason for that being too far away.
Hold it!
Isn't it possible she could have crawled to the area of the bloody message? If that were true, then how did she return to the spot near the entrance? Maybe she crawled back after writing it. Hey, did this guy just me? Would you like to get down on the floor and give us a demonstration of your theory? Huh? No, thank you. The victim's body and the writing are several yards away from each other. There's no way she could reach. Quite the conundrum. So that means something is off somewhere. It must be a contradiction. Ah, maybe the body was moved? But that doesn't explain how blood got on the rubble. What if that was done by the real culprit after the fact? If that's the case, then something about that might contradict the evidence we have. Impact with a flat object. Did not notice that. And they keep not showing us her finger. Yeah, that is not a flat object. Okay, so if I say she struck her head on rubble, that should contradict this that says caused by impact with a flat object. bludgeoned by Athena's character. Let me press on this. What is this? He's gonna say. He's just gonna go. If she didn't write it, then who do you propose did? He doesn't have to. Mr. Justice, of course. Just before dying, he wrote the name of his attacker, Juniper Woods. A final message from your poor subordinate. Poor Mr. Justice. I'm starting to get all misty-eyed. Pablo is not dead, folks. In fact, we can just wait until he wakes up and then ask him. How can you be so sure it wasn't Detective Arm who wrote the message? It is very simple. Alright, I'm gonna try presenting the autopsy report, because it says impact with a flat object.
Objection!
It was correct. Good. You are a terrible liar, Mr. Tonate. Take a look at this autograph. Take a look at this autopsy instead of the autograph. Specifically, the part about Detective Arm's head injury. Cause of death. Trauma to back of head caused by impact with a flat object. Yes, what about it? Now take a good look at the bloody piece of rubble. It's sharp and pointed. Hey, you're right, boss. It is pointy. Just like your hair. That is odd, isn't it? What could be the meaning of this contradiction? I believe it means the victim did not hit her head on this piece of rubble. The blood stain you see is just another fabrication. Its purpose is to mislead us into thinking the victim died near the courtroom entrance. Are you claiming the culprit moved the victim's body? That's exactly what I'm claiming. The victim hit her head at some other location, most likely on the floor or some other flat surface. And this location was somewhere near the bloody writing. Somewhere near where the bloody writing was found. In that case, she definitely could have written the message. Your Honor, I have the results of the bloodstain analysis already. Very good timing. Let's take a look. According to this report, the message was written in Detective Arm's blood. And as the defense claims, only the parts of the message that were added afterwards were written in Mr. Justice's blood. It would appear that the defense's assertion is correct after all. Good job investigating, guys. Yes, you did it. You were right, boss. Now I have to drive it home. I'll have to take a good look at the bloody writing analysis later. Sweating right through the visor. Not waterproof. Not to be used for disabling underwater bombs. Mr. Tonate, it is now apparent that you have told several lies to this court. I hope you have some sort of explanation for yourself. Fine, I will confess. You will? But then why are you so calm? This time I will tell the truth. I was just kidding with my previous testimony in court. It is true that Detective Arm wrote my ID number. She very plainly wrote L10015R. I was shocked, but I did not detonate the bomb. Detective Arm must have mistaken me for the real bomber. Not wanting to be accused, I moved the body and covered the writing. My bad. I see. So it is your assertion that you criminally interfered with an investigation into murder. Fine. No problem. That is correct. I did not kill Detective Arm. Oh, well, if that's all you did. Wait a minute. That in and of itself is a criminal act. Glad to see you finally crossed that finish line, Your Honor. Very well, then. Your cross-examination, please, Mr. Wright.
Hold it!
And it was written after the bomb went off in the courtroom? Correct. I didn't know why she would write it, so that sent me into a panic. Sounds like you were in quite a tizzy. A die pinchy, if you will. If I were in his shoes, I guess it would have psyched me out, too. I can't imagine coming across the message, "Psychs," written in blood. If I saw a gasp in pain, written in blood, it'd certainly make me gasp. Rest assured, Mr. Tony, I understand how you must have felt. And so you discovered your ID number written in blood at the scene, and... That is right, I saw it with my own eyes. It very clearly said, 0100515R. Ah, but with his red goggle, he can't see the color red, so he must be lying.
Hold it!
Didn't you? Quality lawyering. I did not detonate the bomb. Didn't you? Didn't you, though? Did you not detonate the bomb? The victim may have had special knowledge of who the bomber was. I have no idea what thoughts Detective R may have had inside her head. It is not like I ever dismantled her mind to check. Mr. Wright, if you have suspicions about the witness, let's see your proof. Evidence is everything in a court of law. Even school children know that. How many years have you been a defense attorney now? Cut me some slack, will you? Don't feel bad, boss. You just got your attorney's badge back, after all. Did he? We didn't even know that. I thought maybe he was faking. In that sense, you're still more of a beginner than I am. I suppose I should be thankful you're not a licensed psychologist. Mr. Tony, please continue with your testimony. With pleasure, my ID number was left at the scene, but...
Hold it!
What do you mean by that? If I'm mistaken, do you mean you had nothing to do with the explosion? That is correct. What happened to Maya? We don't know yet. It's just the first case, and they just kind of dropped us into this. This does take place after Apollo Justice, which was the fourth game, and Maya wasn't in that one because it takes place several years after the trilogy. So the trilogy is the last time we see Maya, and then 7 or 8 or 10 years passed, and then there was Apollo Justice, where Maya was not in it at all, and Phoenix actually was not an attorney in that one. Oh, no, wait. Maya may have been in that one because part of Apollo Justice contains flashbacks to, like, you play a case in flashback in the past. She might have been in it at that point. But we don't know. We may find out in this game where Maya is. And she should be, like, in her late 20s by now. The victim may have suspected Mr. Tony for no reason other than the fact that, as the bomb specialist, he was in charge of the bomb. In other words, a false accusation. It's vocational discrimination, I say. I do not support discrimination of any kind. Well spoken, Your Honor. If the victim had been found to be killed with a gavel, Mr. Blue Suit over there probably would have pinned the crime on you. He would? Well, that just wouldn't do. Mr. Wright, if you dare try to pin anything on me, I will find you in contempt of court. Wait a minute. That's a fantastic way of getting out of ever being convicted of anything ever. But I've never even tried to harm a hair or a strand of your beard, Your Honor. Well said, Mr. Payne. Because I am so closely associated with bombs, I was afraid I would be prosecuted if anyone saw the bloody writing.
Hold it!
You didn't think to clean away the bloody writing? I didn't have time. By the time I found the message, the blood was already dry. The police were waiting just outside for me to secure the room, and I still had to move the body. I was in a panic. With no time to spare, I temporarily covered the writing with my case. Didn't you think the police would find it during their investigation? Regulation stipulates that only specialists may touch transport cases because of the danger you see. I thought I would clean up the writing once they were finished. My bad. My bad? Does he really think that will just magically smooth everything over? This guy is something else. I don't believe Detective Arm's dying message was just some mistake. He won't wriggle out of this that easily. What did Mr. Tony at first see when he first discovered the bloody Wright? There has to be a contradiction hidden in his testimony somewhere.
Hold it!
So you admit you actually did see the bloody writing that Detective Arm left? My bad. I should have said so from the outset. And you are sure it was your ID number? I am sure it was definitely my ID number. That number was assigned exclusively to me by the police department. The number is assigned to my goggles as well. So those funky things were provided by the police department. Although these are special goggles customized by me personally. Speaking of personalized, these sunglasses of mine were custom made as well. They were specially created to be particularly dark and shiny. Speaking of special, my gavel is made of mahogany and was custom made as well. It was specially created to make a particularly loud and resonating sound. And he just starts banging it. Nice. Wish I had something to brag about. Be all of that as it may, I just want to reconfirm you saw the bloody writing clearly? And that it was your ID number? That is correct, my ID number was written in blood on... Are we going to point out that the R is missing? Still zipping in the background. You know what? I don't... As much as I would like to just finish the case so that next time we start off with the first case, we are already over time. And there's probably... I don't think we're going to finish this up in like 10 minutes. I do still need to eat and get ready for work, so... I guess we're gonna save right here. Save here and we'll resume next Tuesday, hopefully. I'm gonna have to do a lot of like computer fiddling in the meantime. But anyhow, thank you everybody for tuning in and watching. I do look forward to playing the rest of this. It is kind of crazy that already in the tutorial case we've run into like a couple of things where I'm like, that's so unclear, I don't understand, but we'll get there. We will get there. Tune in on Saturday for more Baba Is You, which I don't know how I'm going to get through the rest of the game, but we'll figure something out. And then Sunday, whether there's a stream Sunday or not is going to depend on how the computer thing shapes up.